can if you want. Set them down.
All right, I'll call tonight's meeting to order for the select board. Today's Monday, February 2nd, 2026. We are meeting in the lower level of the Rutland Public Library. We are on Zoom. We are being live streamed and recorded for future YouTube posting. We are currently a 4-member board. If one person, Harry, is on his way. He should be here within a few minutes. But just due to our schedule or our agenda, we'll get moving. Before we get started, if we could stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The RDIC will open up at 6:03.
Okay. We have approval of Treasury Warrant 26-16 and 26-PW16. I took a look through. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. There was one item that I asked Kate to check on, which she said was a typo she'd fixed with a journal entry. Something out of a wrong, but I didn't see anything that you wanted to call out, Heather, for that warrant. Okay. If there's no questions, then I'll entertain a motion to approve Treasury Warrant 26-16 and 26-PW16.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, roll call. Alex?
Vote aye.
Matt's and I.
Ledger aye. All right, we have a couple sets of meeting minutes, just going through the list. We have January 20th, regular meeting minutes. We have, actually I'm gonna do these individually if that's all right with everybody. January 20th, which is regular meeting. If there's no questions or discussion, everybody was present. I'll entertain a motion to approve January 20th, 2026 as presented.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any discussion? All right, Alex?
Vote aye.
Matt's and I.
Ledger aye. Hi, Harry. Just starting with meeting minutes.
Okay.
We have 2 sets of executive session minutes, same evening, but they're separated out just for the 2 different topics. The first one we have is regarding the DPW negotiations. Given that we have an agenda item later this evening to hopefully sign that contract, I can entertain a motion to approve and release pending signature of the contract this evening. Otherwise, if the board is more comfortable just approving and not releasing, if there's planned discussion, if anybody has plans for discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve and release pending a signed contract.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, Alex?
Vote aye. Second aye.
Whitman, aye.
Matt's and I.
All right, thank you. The second executive session is regarding the court filing for Wachusett Road. For this one, I will entertain a motion to approve and not release due to the ongoing matter as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion on this one? All right, Alex?
Vote aye. Second aye.
Whitman, aye.
Matt's and I.
Dry. And the last 2 are January 21 and 22. These are both budget hearing meeting minutes. If there's no concern, we can approve both together. So I'll entertain a motion to approve January 21st and 22nd budget meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Alex?
Vote aye. Second aye.
Whitman, aye.
Matt's and I.
Dry. Thank you. All right, moving in, we have a public hearing for a National Grid poll petition. I will declare that the public hearing is open. 6:06. We have everything in our packets. We have National Grid on Zoom. If anybody has questions, I believe we have a memo also from Director Kolofsky stating that he did not have any concerns. other than just with the snowfall, he was unable to locate the stake that was placed by National Grid.
It's Leah. I have a question it's probably for National Grid.
Sure.
It looks like the pole, is the pole going across Emerald? Is that correct? And I just wanna make sure the wires are high enough.
Yes, so the wires are currently already crossing Emerald, so we're just putting a mid-span pole, and so the wires would stay at the same height essentially.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? Alright, there's no further questions. I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion in a second. Any discussion? Roll call, Alex.
Hold
Harry?
Mattson,
Whitman, aye.
Harry?
Second aye.
Okay, thank you. And ledger I. Any further discussion regarding the pole? Or I'll entertain a motion to approve the installation of one pole on Emerald Road as presented by National Grid.
so moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? Alright, roll call. Alex?
Hold aye. Second aye.
Whitman, aye.
Mattson, aye.
Ledger I. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lenny. We appreciate your time.
Have a good one.
Thank you, you too. All right, moving into appointments and resignations. If the board is amenable, since we have Adam here with us this evening, if we could do the CIPC appointment first. Is that agreeable? Okay. So we do have Adam here who has volunteered to step into the vacancy on the CIPC. So it's per our policy, we ask that the onboarding member come to the appointment meeting, just in case there's any questions by the board. So I will, actually, Adam, if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving us a brief little intro and express your interest on joining CIPC.
Sure. My name's Adam Sarnik. I moved to Rutland just 4 years now. I live on the corner of Prescott and Hillside. Work for UMass Medical School. I oversee some capital projects over there. I handle finance, human resources. We oversee a large inventory of parts, supporting the hospital. I do budgets, a lot of administrative tasks. I'm a department administrator basically. I've been doing that now about 5 years. And before that, it's mostly been events, hospitality, and things like that. So this is my second career. So.
Thank you very much. And we do have a an email from Dan Gracie just stating that the CIPC did meet and is recommending Adam for appointment as well. Any questions from the board?
Simple question. What made you decide that of all the committees and everything, CIPC was right for you?
Well, because it's kind of in line with what I've been doing, the work I've been doing. I've been awarded a $500,000 capital program for our maintenance team. So I wanted to get involved. I know a lot of people complain about their taxes and what's happening in towns. I'm not one of those people. I like to actually be involved and actually know what I'm talking about. So I think it's a great investment to be involved, and I think I have a lot to offer.
I hope you find CIPC as rewarding for you as I think it has been for many members in the past. It is not only a critical committee for this town, but it's one that gets looked at whenever we get, quote, an audit by individuals or firms looking at what the town has and how it's progressing, what it's doing. So it's a very important committee in there. So I hope you find it as entertaining and fun as everybody else has.
Any other questions for Adam? And I will entertain a motion to appoint Adam
Yes.
Sarnik to serve on the CIPC until June 30th, 2028.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second, any discussion? All right, roll call, Alex,
Vote aye.
Second, aye.
Wait a minute.
Matt's and I.
Ledger, aye. With thanks, we appreciate you
Thank you.
volunteering.
Thank
All right, you're set, and just stop up to the town clerk to get sworn in, and then you'll be able to vote along with the rest of the committee.
Do I stay or go?
It's up to you, you're welcome to stay and watch the rest of the meeting, or
Watch
can
the
head
show
out.
for a little bit.
So we do have a couple of Earthworks board appointments. For the rest of the board, we have not had an Earthworks board seated for some time. We had a request come in from Mr. Blair regarding a project that needs to be evaluated, reviewed by the Earthworks board. However, again, at this point, we don't have a seated board to do so. The Earthworks board bylaw states that the committee needs to be seated with representatives from the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, the Board of Health, Agricultural Commission, and then an at-large member. So we have, currently the only member we have is from the AgCom. So we did reach out to the other town boards and committees to request that they discuss appointing a member. We do have the letters in our packet with who those representatives are. They are not here this evening. However, and I know per our policy, we typically ask that whoever's being appointed to the board or committee be present. However, I would ask if the board would consider appointing these, given that they are already town representatives on other committees, they're just fulfilling a role on a separate board. So I wanted
would
to
make a motion that we
ask for
waive
consideration.
the criteria for appointing him at this particular meeting. The in-person.
Is the board comfortable with that?
Was that a motion? I'm sorry.
That's a motion, yes.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right, so a motion to waive the in-person attendance for the appointment policy
I know
for
this.
this case? Okay. All right, so we do have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that?
The only one I'm not familiar with is Scott Gilroy. And I see that, and help me on this one, Heather. I see that you appointed him or recommended him, and I'm not sure why the Board of Health didn't do that, or maybe it did in the communication that I read.
So the Board of Health met and had some questions about the role of the committee and what the responsibilities were, so they did not take action at their meeting. There was a follow-up conversation that I had with Scott, who is a sitting member of the Board of Health. And once we clarified what his questions and concerns were, he agreed as the chair of the Board of Health to represent the Board of Health on the Earthworks board. So it was a little around the corner on that one, but I think it's essentially the representative. Scott would be the representative of the Board of Health, just with a longer conversation.
And the Board of Health is in favor of that.
Correct.
Okay.
And they are, just for clarification, they're an elected board.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Any other questions or discussion on,
I think we just have a motion to waive the criteria.
just to waive the criteria for now, correct? Okay, all right, Alex, roll call.
Vote aye.
Did you have a question first?
Can we, do you
Well,
want
his hand was raised before you went for a vote, that's why I asked. Okay.
we're just voting on.
Second, aye.
Wait a minute.
Matt's and I.
Ledger, aye.
I just had a comment on what you just did.
Yes,
I fully endorse what you did, but that question was asked before for somebody else to be appointed on a committee, such as an individual that's sitting in this room right now, so I didn't have to come to a meeting, and you told me I had to come to the meeting. So I think you should do that for other exceptions like you just did, but I was told no, and I'm a familiar face in this building, but I had to come to be appointed to this committee that I'm sitting with tonight.
understood, we will take that back
Point
and we
noted,
can.
that's all.
Okay.
Acknowledged, thank you. All right, so we have that motion, is there any further discussion? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to appoint Timothy Keenan, Alexander Moss, and Scott Gilroy to the Earthworks Board to serve until June 30th, 2028 as representatives from their board or commission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, roll call. Alex.
Moon eye.
Second, aye.
Women,
Mattson, aye.
Ledger,
just circling back to Earthworks in general, I believe that they're supposed to be updating their bylaw. I think that was some of the big work that they were working on before we did the comprehensive bylaw review and update a couple years ago. So I think that board is going to have a hefty lift to do at the start.
Okay.
Just, I can go back and look through documentation, but I believe that there was a decent amount that that group was working on.
All right, moving forward, we have public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? Name and address, please.
Tim Narwhal, 149 Palmagussit, somewhat semi-representing the RDIC on this. I sent an email to Chris Kolofsky and Heather about some lights, and I apologize, I did not copy the select board on that, but I wanted to be known that we've had requests from the Harmony Place that the lights that are installed and powered be turned on from a safety standpoint, from vehicles. And I know right now with the snow they're not walking, but there's people out on the roads walking. And since it is an access to the school, I think it's time to turn those lights on. So I just wanted to bring the select board up on it and see when we can get that done.
Heather did let me know that
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't-
no, that's okay. She let me know that you had reached out, and I think the request is noted. We just wanna make sure we're doing our due diligence as far as financial impact, any community impact, so we just need to look into a few things before we
Okay.
take steps to do any of
I
that.
just, we're gonna talk to I'll talk to Lauren through the RDIC to Harmony that if people have those requests, they should really be going to the DPW to start that request process instead of coming to the RDIC. But since it came to us, we had to act on it, and that's what we did.
It's in the review process. Thank you very much for closing the loop though.
Okay,
I would even go one step further and ask that they also reach out to the town administrator's
Okay.
office over and above DPW, just
Mike's on,
To
so he
ensure,
can,
so.
he can hear all that, because I've made him basically the contact between Harmony Place and the RDIC.
Okay.
That's it, thanks.
thank you. Anybody else for public comment? All right. Moving into communications, member comments, announcements, and town administrator update. Updates on my side. We have CMRPC that's working on a plan to improve street safety in the region. There's more information and a link to a survey that's available on the town website under news and announcements, so anybody interested can access that and fill out a survey. With all of the snow that we've had lately, we would just ask that residents remember to clear the sidewalks in front of your homes, that our DPW does clear sidewalks in the center of town, but it's the responsibility of homeowners to clear sidewalks in front of your homes. And just having those sidewalks clear provides safe walking spaces for anybody that's out and about, as well as especially for the kids that are walking to the bus stop or walking to school. The town clerk's office will have papers available beginning February 10th for anybody that's interested in running for elected office. There is a list of available seats that can be found on the town clerk's page of the website. Hopefully we would get some new faces in for any of the available open seats there. A reminder to also for the town clerk to complete your census and return that to the town clerk's office to avoid removal from the voter registration list. Town offices will be closed on Monday, February 16th for President's Day. And thinking to warmer times, registration for summer camp opens on February 7th at 8 o'clock in the morning. And you can log into your Civic Rec account now for pre-registration just to speed up the process and get things going. So you're all set to register come February 7th. Does anybody else have any other comments or announcements they'd like to make? then I will turn it over to Heather for her town administrator update.
Thank you very much. So as you all know, the majority of my time has been spent either at or preparing for your joint budget meetings, getting some tasks done in between, including a review of our ongoing technical issues that we've been having with our audio and Zoom access to your select board and other meetings. We definitely know that there are some gremlins in the system. I've prepared sort of an overview for the board's consideration, take it under advisement, that as your policy for remote participation requires that the select board, finance committee, and several other boards provide a remote access. And we know that our Zoom remote access point has become unreliable. Audio is consistently dipping out, and it is preventing participants from being able to participate in a real time, which is a requirement of your open meeting law. I'm not suggesting that we're in violation of, but because of the consistency and of the concerns, I just want to make sure that I'm bringing it to your attention so that we do our due diligence. I don't know if it's something that the select board would consider temporarily suspending the requirement for the select board, finance committee, Concom, and the other boards that are required to have remote participation, so that you can remain compliant with your own policy and perhaps avoid any concerns with open meeting law. I know that it is a strong desire by this board as well as everybody else involved to have that transparency, and I'm sorry that we can't solve the problem more quickly, but this might be the next best step while we continue to address what is causing those issues. I don't need action this evening. I just wanted to give you a sample motion of what that might look like, should you wish to take action, but also I understand that it might be something that you're more comfortable taking under advisement for your next meeting. Continue. On a much more positive note, tomorrow evening, the Rutland Police Department is hosting a swearing-in ceremony here at the library. We are promoting Cassie D'Souza to the position of sergeant. Jacob Deschamps, he is being promoted to detective. And we are swearing in Zachary Stillman, Ross Sudar, and David Westerman as a special police officer. And Ross and Zachary are being sworn in as full-time police officers. So that's happening tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock. Light refreshments will be served. I think it's wonderful that we take a minute and really celebrate those additions and promotions in the staff. Credit to Chief Monica. That's all I have for you tonight, and I apologize for it's being so brief. But again, it's really been budget. So, thank you.
Anybody have questions for Heather?
I have a question, and maybe we'll talk about this. I'm not sure. For the remote policy, remote access policy, I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to not suspend, and this is maybe a discussion, but a thought point, to have a laptop in here that I know maybe someone not participating, an active participant in the meeting, but someone monitors. I mean, I think that's what Alex ended up doing for the meeting last week. We've done that for a number of our other charter committee and everything, because I do think that there's a strong value to having that as an option. I know audio has been non-existent even on the live stream and on 192, channel 192, and so it's really challenging when we are trying to get the budget information out to not have any sort of anything. I know some of the other rooms are set up for Zoom as Zoom rooms. I'm not sure what those technicalities are either, but if there's a way to even have a laptop in here that can be, the meeting can be recorded, and then at minimum that meeting is then put on YouTube. And maybe it's not access to the public, but at least any board or committee members that aren't able to participate in person are able to at least participate through that manner.
We know that the meetings are being recorded and the recordings seem to have audio. It's the live feed where we find that we're having a really significant challenge with the audio. Having a laptop for those boards and committees that can manage that, I think that's a good alternative. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking
Yeah.
also for a number of, I mean, we've had it for select board where we've had K-Pier attorneys trying to Zoom in. We've had it for charter committee with Collins Center trying to have remote access. And that's really a huge cost savings to the town to not have to pay the travel expenses for those individuals in addition to their time.
Yeah.
So I don't know, in the past, we've also done phone calls for that, but for charter committee, it's a little bit more difficult because that's a lot of, they're on the entire meeting, it's not just for a portion of the meeting.
We'll continue to look at those options. Thank you for the suggestions. I just want to make sure that we're acknowledging that we're having a difficult time, so that the general public or people that are watching know that it's something that we're working on and just cognizant of, so that you know, we're doing our very best to resolve the issues, but should they really want to participate in a meeting, then in person is really the best option to participate. The recordings can be viewed after the fact, but it's not the same as remote access.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it safe to say that a large part of the fix is probably going to be cost with just equipment being outdated?
I'm not that far along. We have a meeting on Wednesday that hopefully we'll know more answers about that. We have we've reached out to other experts in the field to come in and help us diagnose those problems, and hopefully we'll have the understanding of what needs to be fixed, whether it be software or hardware.
Right, but we may not have the budget to purchase those things if it's needed, so even if we know what the fix is, we may not have the ability to fix it.
It depends on what the fix is. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for understanding. We really are trying to diagnose this as quickly as possible.
Any other questions for Heather? All right, we're gonna delve into old business for a little bit. The first item that we have is the CBA for the Department of Public Works. This was reviewed, as we mentioned before, in executive session at our last meeting. Heather did send out the redlined copy for what was removed. We had that in email. So tonight's, and I don't believe that there was any comments from any board members, at least that were messaged to you after, as far as other concerns or comments. So the hope tonight is that we can just vote to sign the contract. Anybody have concerns or comments on anything else that was included in the comment that would warrant another executive session?
No, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Then if there's no question or concerns, I'll entertain a motion to sign the collective bargaining agreement for the Department of Public Works as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All right, roll call, Alex.
Vote aye.
Second, aye.
That's an aye.
Ledger I. All right, so we're all set there. Next item is regarding the Franklin T. Woodhouse. After our last meeting, Heather moved forward and we have in our packets the draft request for proposal for the lease of the Woodhouse. So this evening, we would be looking for any concerns or comments with the draft proposal. And if there are none, that we can move to publish the RFP to move forward.
I have a question.
Sure.
Heather, I hope you're staying warm on your trip back and forth between towns. On this assessor's parcel ID, do we know what that parcel is? Does it include just the building, or is it some of the land, the parking space, the run? What exactly makes up that parcel? Because according to this, the Historical Society is responsible for everything in regards to that parcel. So I'm trying to figure out what their responsibility is.
That's a good question. I will make sure that, I don't know if that parcel is split on the town's GIS, but we can find out to make sure that if it's not split, that we identify it to exclude the structures that we don't intend them to have lease access to.
Okay, 'cause
That's a good distinction.
the reason is, if we go to the brigade, the house, firehouse, their document basically says they're responsible for the building and the area around it. So if we apply that to this parcel, that means some of the grass that's growing, the road that has to be taken care of, is that responsibility theirs? So that's what I'm trying to figure out, because if I'm gonna vote for that, I wanna know what is regards to that whole parcel. And I apologize for not getting that to you sooner.
That's okay. So I think practically speaking, we can acknowledge that the Department of Public Works takes care of the road in front, that driveway that goes in front. They would maintain the grass and the immediate landscaping. So we would want to make sure that we're amending the RFP to be very clear that it is just the building and basically the structure itself, not the landscaping and or driveway or the studio building behind.
Right, definitely not the studio building behind. And even though that's still town property, is it in here that we now grant them access to the building through the town property, so to speak? If we still maintain that, do we then grant them access to it? Because that's not part of the lease agreement.
Well, so what the document that you have in front of you is the RFP, it is not
Yes.
the lease agreement.
Right.
So the lease agreement could be more specific as to how they access the property.
Okay. Okay.
The defining what they would have responsibility for is important for the RFP. I think access is more of a lease agreement issue, but both good points.
I mean, I'm looking long-term, because this is for 25 years,
Up to 25.
up to 25 years, okay? And if it ends up at 25 years, that's a long time for an organization to be responsible for something that may come back to the town. So that's why because I've been looking at different time frames for that. So that's why I want to make sure that we know exactly what that property is that they're responsible for.
Thank you.
Do you have something, Leah?
No, I was just looking at the GIS and
Okay.
that parcel, by looking at GIS, it looks like the parcel entirety includes the front driveway in the front and then the garden in the back. It does not include the wood studio. We knew that from previous conversations anyway. I think the way, and I'm not 100% sure, I believe the way it currently operates, to your point, is DPW plows the half circle, and I believe does the periodic mowing in the back because they have access to it. I would assume that would be the intent to continue that practice, but I just wanted to say that from looking at the parcel, that's what's inclusive.
Thank you, Leah.
Any other questions on the draft? Okay, so we have just a few minor things, it sounds like, to follow up on.
Sure.
And then we can bring it back, hopefully for review and approval at our next meeting.
As part of that review and approval, do you want a timeline for the issuance of it as well as the deadline for bid submissions? Do you want a full schedule?
I think that would be good, just to keep the process moving.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
As efficiently as possible. So, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, moving into the policy review. Last meeting, we had taken a look at the town building keys policy. There were a couple questions and things that we had brought up before. Those edits have been made to the policy. We have it in our packets. It's not color coded here, but it's sort of highlighted out in gray in our packets of what
Oh,
was
I'm
added.
sorry.
That's okay.
I've been
You can
trying to
still
print
tell.
not in color to see, and I forgot, I'm sorry.
So Tamika did update based on the feedback that was given at the last meeting. So just wanted to bring it back before the board for a final review, see if there's any further comments or concerns, or if not, we can look to approve the policy as amended.
Are we going to designate, is it time to ask questions?
Sure.
Okay. Are we going to designate any additional facilities that are covered under this building? I'm particularly thinking of the library.
I think the library is separate because it's,
Some of the trustees.
The library is
I
a
guess I don't
town-owned
understand the
building.
question.
Further clarification as to what the question,
This is pertaining to keys to the building.
yes.
Should the DPW have keys to the library?
I think
I'm not sure that they don't have, I think that it's understood that the DPW does have keys to all of the facilities.
And then should we add it to this list then? Because currently you have keys to all of these buildings. So we should definitely define it, I guess, and add it to the list.
Okay?
Can I just ask a question, what list you mean, because they are defined on there
it's under the buildings covered, the library's not under here.
Oh, the building, I'm sorry, I thought you
Yeah.
meant DPW staff.
No, just
Got
the
it.
buildings covered, yeah.
Thank you.
To follow up on that question, I mean, like Mondays when the library's closed, who's typically the one to come in and open the building for meetings?
Usually cable,
Okay,
and if a board or committee has a meeting here, they borrow the key from dispatch.
okay, all right, so I would agree with Harry if we have circumstances that necessitate having building keys issued, we should
Mhm.
either continue doing it through dispatch for the time being. Or make sure we're tracking who has access to the,
I think it would certainly fall under any additional facilities designated by the select board, but there's no harm in calling that out specifically. Also, your public safety building is not specifically
Community
listed. The community center is not specifically listed, so I think that if it's important that we be more specific than any additional facilities designated by the select board, then we should either eliminate that or just make sure that we've identified every town-owned building.
If I may.
Yeah.
I think you're on the right path, Heather. I think there are probably some things, small buildings or something we may not be aware of right now or in the future, but the main buildings, I think, is what should be listed here, so when whoever's reading this understands the main buildings are covered under this program.
Okay.
it's either that or it says including but not limited to. And it just says all town-owned or town-controlled buildings, so I guess that is inclusive of essentially everything without listing out all of the individual buildings, especially those, whenever we get the wood studio back for use, that's usually used, so we need to get keys for dispatcher, who else would have access, cable, whatnot.
Can I
So,
ask
yeah, go ahead.
a dumb question? What's the difference between community hall and town hall? And I know the annex and I know town hall, and I always thought town hall and community hall were,
That's a good question, I didn't pick up on that.
The terms are used interchangeably. Some folks call it community hall, some call it town hall. I think because this policy is so old, it had community hall. But if you think that town hall is more widely recognized, we can change that.
Or
They're one and the same.
town/community hall.
Technically, the front of the building actually says community hall.
Community hall.
I would just lump them together and
Yeah.
then, I mean, I don't disagree with Harry and you, Jen, about calling out at least, I think public safety is generally open, there's 24/7 access to public safety regardless, I believe, I don't know for sure. And knowing that, I mean, we talked about this is gonna have to be reviewed after dispatches, if dispatch moves
Right.
out of Rutland. So that, but I think library and the building on Glenwood at minimum would be other potential ones. I'm not sure about DPW facility.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either, you know, the major player buildings being listed out.
Do you want DPW on there?
I don't think DPW is necessary, it's not typically
Who
one
has the key?
who would, right,
DPW.
you wouldn't be
DPW.
requesting a key for a DPW typically, so
Okay.
that one I'm fine, just, you know, acknowledging whoever the employees are as far as who has keys to the building under the policy.
I think for me, DPW and public safety kind of fall under that umbrella, but the
Yeah.
building on Glenwood, just because sometimes there
Agreed.
are meetings that are over there or something, and then the library, to your
Yeah.
point, at least the basement level for the library,
Agreed.
because that's where there's generally meetings. I know sometimes there's meetings upstairs, but not usually when the library is closed.
Yeah. Okay, so combine community and town hall just for the clearness there. Add the community center and the library. And then we can have everything else fall under the general statement here that applies to all town-owned or town-controlled buildings.
Okay.
Is everybody comfortable with that? Okay. Is there
And-
any-
Sorry, one other, is there another, I think I had asked that just that there be a note made that when and if dispatch moves out of town, that this is reviewed, just so that it stays in everybody's knowledge, because we do reference, I believe we referenced that they have access to keys, if needed, so, sorry, I didn't go through it with a fine tooth comb.
I've been told that there will be somebody in dispatch. If the dispatch system itself moves out of town, that there will still be somebody there. That's what I've been told.
I mean, I see the emergency access that will be securely maintained at the Rutland Dispatch Center, but I just didn't know if we wanted to put kind of a footnote for the whole policy that it should be reviewed. I mean, I think we say annually, but an annual audit for the key thing, and I think we try to go through our policies every 2 to 3 years, but just to call out that needs to be something, I don't know.
Oh, yes.
The other, question,
Sure, Craig.
nonprofit and private use. Temporary keys may be issued for approval, nonprofit or subject to. Does that mean they go to DPW if they're gonna be issued keys? Who oversees this? The town administrator, DPW? Am I missing something here?
If it's gonna be a regular occurrence, if they're going to be having, for example, if the Boy Scouts wanted to meet monthly, they would work with the Department of Public Works to set up that access.
Okay. Should that be noted in here somewhere?
Could be, sure.
It might be a good idea, just in
Yeah.
case somebody is looking to set something up, they would know
Yeah.
who to go to.
So just, are you thinking just temporary keys may be issued for approval for approved nonprofit or private use subject use through DPW, subject to these, or just calling out how they would go? I don't know.
Jen, if I may, I have a question. I'm just thinking out loud. Would the board wanna set some time, some sort of time frame on what temporary use meant? Or do you want to allow it at all? I know we took away the section where we give it to boards and committees, so I don't know if you feel like you wanna keep it or set a time limit as to what temporary means?
The way I read it and the way it currently operates, I believe any group meeting would just need to request a key for that night and then return it in a timely manner. I think if we're taking keys away from boards and committee chairs, which I think we were all in agreement with, then I think giving them to leaders of community organizations is a slippery slope. And so I think that not a permanent issuance, but an approved, temporary for meetings, whether it's a monthly meeting or a bi-monthly meeting, however, weekly, whatever, they still need to sign a key in and out or something, that they don't have full control of a key unfettered.
Yeah, I would agree with Leah. I mean, and for nonprofit or private use, I would assume they're typically looking to utilize a building when it's open or available. Unless it's, like I said, the wood studio, when we get that back, that's available at dispatch, but I can't, unless there's extenuating circumstances, I can't imagine why they would be looking to use a building off hours.
I know there's a number of groups that meet here on Monday, like there's a group here that's meeting on Monday night that so there are a number of town groups that and I know sports organizations have tried to find meeting space unsuccessfully, as well as scouts, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. So I think that having an avenue for it, and a lot of those meetings are in the evenings when buildings are closed.
Yeah.
We'll put our heads together and come up with some language for your next review.
To the chair, can I defer to a member of the audience?
Sure.
To the chair, got a question. I heard the boards and committees were being eliminated from keys. It's a little bit difficult and I'm speaking on behalf of the planning board, since all of our files, access, drawings, packets of documents are in the annex. Typically, the planning boards had access to that area, so if something on a weekend, or we've got a site walk down, or we have to verify something, which is not typical town hours, the board members had access to those files. Because our planner isn't, of course, future planner, a planner, is just working during the day.
If I may, I think we had talked about, the board, and correct me if I'm wrong, had talked about that there would still be an avenue to access to sign out a key currently from dispatch to get in, but it was trying to limit the number of access, prevent unfettered access, because there was concerns about files not getting returned, not specifically for planning, but just in general. So
As
there
long
was
as
still
there's
an
a sign out.
avenue for it, but just not.
I just wanted to make sure there was an because I know myself, I've had to go over there on a Saturday to pull a drawing because something came up. So as long as there's access through dispatch, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thanks.
So in Holden, the Holden Grange meets is at the Holden Senior Center, and we meet twice a month or sometimes 3 times a month if we have an additional event. And we have to go get the key the day of and return it the next business day of it, is how Holden does it at the Senior Center, but we get it at the Senior Center. So what I'm saying is, you may want to think about, hey, if you're going to use the library, instead of going to the dispatch, if it's not there in the future, you could come to the library and get it while it's open, sign it out, give you a license, $20, to give people more incentive to do it, as ways things have been done in other communities.
Oh, yeah, I think we can certainly, I think that's still up for discussion on the best place, especially like I said, when dispatch is no longer there, we're gonna need something. I think the benefit of having it right now with dispatch is that it's there if, like, the community center is not open after a certain, I don't even know what time they close. 3? So we can't, if people need to have keys, at least dispatch is there 24/7. So it allows that off hours access, but certainly something that we can, that's really what we're looking for, is making sure that there is that access for busy people that have daily jobs that can't get there until the evenings to go pick up, or weekends, whatever they need to, so.
And,
Go ahead.
okay. In all my years of going around recording meetings in different buildings, I've never had a problem getting any keys from dispatch to get into or out, or get into a building. Generally, put a $20 bill down and they gave me the key, and if I want my $20 bill back, they get their key back. So, I mean, it was fairly simple system. And this went on for some years that, I would lug a camera around and record meetings. And, FinCom was meeting over to the senior center, and there were various other committees that were meeting in the wood studio, and so, it was not a problem as far as I was concerned. So that's, it's been a workable situation up until what you're saying right now anyways.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The dispatch is currently the one who's going, quote, under this policy, maintain the access keys. But are we still asking for a $20 deposit? Because I didn't see that here.
I have no real idea, because it's been a long time
I mean,
since.
when
It's in there, it's under, well, at least for the nonprofit and private use, payment of a refundable deposit established by the select board.
So I guess that is okay, because we could declare that at any time. We can change the price, the rate, anything at any time. That doesn't have to specifically state that in the policy. So if we say it's $20 today, $30 tomorrow, the board can simply change the policy without specifically stating it.
Is that currently on the fee schedule? Do you know?
It's just been a practice of the dispatch center just to ensure that they're getting their keys back, so it's
Right.
not like a monetary fee that we keep,
Right,
which is why we don't include it on the fee schedule, it's just a refundable deposit.
okay.
And there is a form that needs to be filled out with a whole bunch of information, so they know who has the key at minimum, so.
Right.
Well, I was thinking of the deposit in terms of, like, our good gentleman down there was saying that if he wants to get it, he's gotta go to dispatch, that being a member of the town, like, remember, he shouldn't have to pay the $20 to get his key.
Oh, I see, so that you're
Yes.
just calling a distinction between a town board or committee members versus
Right.
somebody that's from a
Nonprofits or
nonprofit or a
whatever.
private use.
Well, if you only got $10 in your pocket, I'm sure they wouldn't argue.
I mean, what's in the policy now is strictly for the nonprofit and private use. But it doesn't sound like we have anything explicitly noted anywhere what the refundable fee cost is,
Right.
so.
But I can tell you, I've gone to pick up the key for the wood studio for the Ag Commission, and there was no key there for us to have a meeting. So it wasn't returned, and there wasn't that $20 or your firstborn kid left on the counter to pick it up. So there are times that it doesn't get returned. Someone forgot, someone took it home by accident, so maybe they should almost have a second key for that reason alone too. So we had to cancel the Ag Commission meeting or move it, I don't remember which we did, but that's happened more than once in the past over there. So you gotta consider that as well.
Leah, you're familiar with that form. Does it have a phone number on there that they can contact you if the key's not back?
I believe it does, I believe it's your
It's on the
name,
form.
address,
They
or,
have a form.
Yeah, so I know the
Yeah.
form is there. I filled it out many times. I just wasn't, if I put down if it required my phone number or not, that was the only thing.
Yeah, but a familiar face over there, they don't make you do it, right? You gotta bring it back.
No, my point is, at least they know who has it, and there's a phone number to call them to say, are you keeping this for a week, a day, what's going on here? Because it should be back. But again, I bring it up in this case where you're looking at the planning board. What if what they're doing takes 2 or 3 days to get it done? And they need to get in and out of the annex building to access all that stuff. And in the meantime, somebody else is looking for that key. That's where I'm trying to work through details so we don't get into the mud and the weeds on this thing.
It might even be worthwhile, instead of, the form can still be used, one that's a dispatch, but even for town folks, just having a sign out sheet. Like, I stopped by, name, the time in, time out, just so, again, to Randy's point, if it's not returned, we can write down that list, oh, so-and-so has it, let me reach out to them.
But I also think that from a practical standpoint, that would even take probably more time than what a board or committee that's looking to start a meeting on time. So I think another practical solution would be to make more keys.
Oh, sure.
If we're going to require, if this is gonna be the new direction for boards and committees as well as nonprofits and community groups, I think making sure that we have an appropriate number of keys available so that the AgCom is not forced to cancel meetings as a result of that.
But if I may, I think also if planning board, and I think planning board or conservation might be the ones that may need in to look at plans or something for site walks or something, maybe historical also, I'm not 100% sure. But if they know that their meeting should be posted in advance, so they should be able to then go to DPW and say, hey, I'm gonna need a key because I'm gonna need to get in for these, and fill out the form to get the key from DPW versus the emergency use key from dispatch.
I
think
guess I wasn't aware of that being a distinction.
Well, I'm not
that the
sure.
dispatch is an emergency use
We
key
call it out
versus-
here as an emergency
Okay.
use, and I think of dispatch more for like the community use or emergency use or something.
Okay.
Whereas if it's a planned, I don't know.
To
I mean,
Leah's
we call it
point
out
too,
here.
I would say you could notify the staff, so they could notify the town planner or somebody for conservation commission to say, hey, I need this, and they could even leave it at dispatch for them to pick up without them necessarily needing to access the building, cause it's okay, it works for the annex, but it doesn't work for the town hall, cause that system has an alarm, that building has an alarm system, so there's other options too.
There are also different business interests in town that interact with a particular department, police, fire, DPW, through the dispatch system, okay? So in other words, they'll go into dispatch and say, I need this from police department or fire department, okay? So dispatch relays the message and so on and so forth. It may get taken care of right then and there, or it may require somebody investigating some paperwork and then forwarding to them. There we go.
Okay. Any other?
Do we know how long the dispatch center is gonna be here?
No.
We spoke to Chief Knipe about this when we were talking about the key policy, and he said he doesn't anticipate it happening within the next 18 months. We
Yeah.
probably have 18 months to 2
18
years
months?
before we have to
Okay,
worry
cause I
about
was
it.
worried if it was gonna be short,
No, we asked
that
that
the
question.
dispatch center would be, okay.
Yeah, still have some time.
They still have to procure the building that they plan to renovate and move into.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with this.
But I think the wood studio agreement was for 18 months or something through
Before it's
June-
revisited,
June
yeah.
of next year
Yeah.
of 27, so just.
We may need to amend that.
We'll have to take a look at it once it gets closer. Anything else on the key policy,
Oh, okay.
Randy?
Just a curiosity question that came to the light bulb here. Is the dispatch center okay using them as an emergency key situation? Before, when it was only the Rutland dispatch, it wasn't a big deal, right? Now they're managing multiple communities. Do they have time to give Randy Jordan a key to go to the Ag Commission meeting? Is a periodical question because it's been 2 or 3 years since the Rutland Fire Brigade used to sell chicken barbecue tickets there for the 4th of July at the dispatch center. It was never a problem, right? But once they went to a larger dispatch center, they didn't have time to sell that ticket at the 4th of July. You may want to just take that into consideration, because if they have a situation there with 3 communities calling them at the same time and there's only 3 people in there, they don't have a key to give to. I wouldn't want to get the key
Yeah.
if there's a larger situation either, just.
It sounds like that question was asked, and at least for the time being, they're still comfortable having the keys issued out of their offices. Alright, so a few more things to go back and take a look at. Alright, so we'll bring that back and revisit on that. All right, moving into the WRSD budget meeting. This is for the school committee meeting on the 24th. There was some comment and feedback on the questions that were drafted previously, so we've since gone back and made some updates to those questions, just rephrased them a little bit. So what you have in your packets is the updated questions. So just bringing these back before the board for a final review. The approval for Harry to be able to, and Darren to be able to bring these to that school committee meeting on the 24th.
For me, I think those questions were cleaned up very nicely.
I agree.
Thank you.
Does anybody have questions or concerns on the list? The statement that's included?
Is everybody okay with the samples or the statement at this point?
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want a motion for approval? Just,
Unless the board wants to, but it's not necessary.
all right, the board's in agreement with the current list as far as approved questions, and we can disseminate that for Harry and Darren to bring. All right, excellent. All right, moving into new special business. First on the list is our joint meeting with RDIC. Would you like to call your meeting?
Got it already
Oh,
open.
you already did call it?
Yep, we open up at 6:03.
Oh, okay, sorry, I thought you said you were gonna hold off till 6:30. All right, so this is a continuation of our joint discussion is it before Christmas?
Yes.
It's been a while. Okay, so the intent being RDIC was looking for more directive as far as what their charge is. So we had some discussion about the existing charge. We have in our packet an updated charge. It's just a draft, but Seth had gone through and updated to include a lot of the information as far as MGL and the Acts 2000 for the Rutland Heights property. So that's all inclusive in the draft policy that is in our packets. I assume that was disseminated to RDIC as well. So we are just revisiting that conversation this evening just to see if we can shore up what this charge is and move forward as far as what the directive for the committee should be. So I'll open it up for any questions or comments on the draft charge. Anything from RDIC?
Yeah, when I looked it over, I was trying to, we'd sort of been focused on, if you wanna call it town property management. In the past, it was sort of all encompassing, so that's what I was trying to get more of a feel of where the board wanted us to go. I mean, if it's still on the town management, and a lot of that stuff was MGL and rules about the Rutland Heights, but in the past, it'd been all town property that the RDIC had managed in the past. But when we broke up between the EDIC and RDIC, we had sort of stepped away from, if you want to call it, the advertising and sales of town property and just gone on to the management side. And that's where we were looking to see if that overview is where the board would want us to step back into. That's really the big question out there.
When you talk about the management side of it, what can you?
Town
Explain
property,
a little
if a property's potentially for sale, the RDIC would put together, you know, the bounds, out of the GIS, what's available, what properties could be out there. If there's work that needs to be done on a property, that would be under the RDIC. But when it came to, you wanna call it the advertisement, or going out and doing the sales pitch, that was more on the EDC side. I guess looking for potential, what's the word I'm looking for? You guys jump in,
We did the RFP for that one.
yes, for the heights.
The RFPs, and I think we've done RFPs for other.
as far as I know, the last RFP that I think we did was for the towers. I don't think
Right.
we've done any RFPs since then. That's, and the Rutland Heights is well defined, but when we got into town properties,
Right.
that's where I was looking for more of, are we gonna be the, I guess, for any word short of the advertisement and sales side and also managing what properties are available? That's what we're really looking for some direction on, cause right now we were basically on the, if you wanna call it the project management side, not the sales and advertising side. Cause that was, we divided it up with the EDC at the time, EDIC or AC. So that's where we were looking for some direction from the board. Do you want us to take on that role, not take on that role, or?
So it's, the purpose and the mission statement here, I think is, it just nicely, concisely summarizes what we'd be looking for the RDIC to do, which is conduct research into local industrial and economic conditions, develop strategies that expand and strengthen the local economy, assist and coordinate publicly and privately sponsored development initiatives, market Rutland for industrial, commercial, and related economic investment, prepare and distribute appropriate promotional and informational materials, support job creation, tax-based growth, and sustainable land use planning. So I think as far as like management of, marketing specific properties, that's just a small piece of what this
Okay,
larger charge is.
I'm fine with that.
And if I may, under duties and responsibilities, it says the commission shall identify and evaluate economic development opportunities within the town, promote and facilitate industrial, commercial, retail, housing, recreational, and municipal development aligned with town planning objectives, coordinate with the select board, town planner, planning board, town administration, and land use boards to support economic development consistent with the local and statutory plans. Oversee activities, solicit proposals, and manage disposition of properties and land under its purview, particularly the Rutland Heights State Hospital site, using competitive requests for proposals when required by law. Engage economic development partners, developers, businesses, and state agencies such as DCAM. Provide periodic reports and updates to the select board on commission activities, economic trends, and potential redevelopment opportunities. So I personally don't see it as RDIC working in a total vacuum, but kind of getting a handle on what town has, what may suit what areas, and not just town owned, but also working with any private owned parcels based on zoning, or if zoning needs to be looked at, or anything of that nature also.
Agreed.
Madam Chair?
Sure.
I'm gonna date myself. Randy, I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
So, new to this game, there's been a lot of question for a number of years to this thing. But one question that has recently come to me that we brought up at the last RDIC meeting, and I guess we were going a different direction, but that wasn't my intention when I accepted the appointment onto this committee, is, for example, the RDIC think should be some sort of forest management plan of some sort for multiple reasons. A, to clean it up, and this is all town properties, not necessarily just Rutland Heights Hospital. And then we were led to believe that it was, other people had showed interest in regards to doing it, like it was Con that showed interest to it, and I am, no disrespect, but adamantly opposed to that, because part of the reason I came to this committee was to help orchestrate that. If it went to the Ag Commission, forestry is considered an agricultural, that I'm okay with that, because I'm involved with that I could help with that there. So that's one of the concerns that I have. I realize that it's all broad brush, for lack of better terms, to do it. And some people of the past would say, hey, you guys are in charge of Rutland Heights Hospital and that's about it, but yet you guys can kind of keep a feel of all this other stuff. Some people will sit here and tell you, are we in the place to sell something that's not necessarily usable? You can't find any more property, but yet we want to bring in more revenue to it. Part of the Economic Development Committee was to help bring business in and retain business that was here. We chose to disband that because we felt our hands were tied a little bit, for the lack of better terms, and we wanted to go to the RBA things there, and things are going in the positive direction there. We've had a few meetings there with that kind of things. That is some of my concern of for the lack of better terms, let the RDIC manage all the properties and come to you for any big decisions, right? cutting the trees isn't gonna cost us any money, it's gonna save us some money, we're gonna make some money with it, and let it do that way, right? Whether we go to a particular spot and say clear cut it because we wanna put recreational fields there, that's perfectly fine, but if you wanted to do just a forest management, so there isn't a chance of a forest fire there, I know there's difference of opinions, but it's just, some things that were concerned to me as a whole, they're going for.
So the forest management aspect of it, we're not gonna get into that in this discussion tonight. And looking into that and researching it a little bit more, there's a lot more that goes into that we're just not prepared to have that discussion. There's MGL related to some of that, and there is MGL related to ComCon specifically. So we need to, again, do our due diligence and make sure that we're approaching that correctly if we're going to even pursue a forest management plan. So that's separate piece. Something that I would like to point out is we keep focusing on managing and preparing properties for sale. Based on what I'm seeing here, which I like what I'm seeing here, that's not the main goal of the RDIC. Like, we should not be focused on just selling properties. We need to be focused on how can we expand the industrial and economic conditions to help bring business in, which is not necessarily selling a piece of property to a business. There's other avenues, just another piece in here. Preparing and distributing promotional and informational materials, anything, again, related to bringing in business. So I would like to make sure that we're focusing much more broadly than just cleaning up a piece of property to sell it as the end goal. Because that's, I see the charge here being much bigger than that focus.
And I like what you guys
If
put
I-
together.
if I may- When I was a young pup many years ago and I sat on the RDIC, the committee at that time focused on, and I'm gonna use this term, municipal real estate development that the town owned. That was the job. The hospital didn't have anything to do with that until later on. So the way I look at it from an RDIC perspective, from my own perspective, the RDIC's job is to look at all the municipal property and how, like Jen said, it benefits the town on an economic scale. That, to me, is what I thought the RDIC should be, always be. So that's my opinion.
Michelle?
We did a survey several years ago, which is where all the like supermarket came into play before we even started developing, like when we first started to try to think of what to do with the property, the Heights property. And I'm wondering if we should do that again. There have been many more people that have moved to town, people who've left town, and I wonder if we should start with maybe getting a sense of the pulse of like, what does the community want?
If I may, I have been pushing that since the sale of the Heights property, Harmony Place, for a minimum for the remaining Heights parcels to kind of revisit the master plan for that and see what, now that quote unquote the debt has been paid off for that, and town has changed a lot in the 25 years since the master plan for the Heights was developed. But I know when John was here as planner, John and Tamika worked on the Route 68 survey for a commercial industrial corridor, and there's a lot of work in the master plan also that talks about economic development, and we had talked about when EDC was in existence, even working with existing businesses in town to see what it might take to get them, to encourage them to grow rather than necessarily bringing in brand new. If it's a zoning thing, if it's a tax thing, if it's a space thing, we know we don't have any town-owned buildings that can be rehabbed, but there are a number of private-owned buildings that just sit vacant in commercially zoned areas, and why is that, and what can we do to try to facilitate that, I think. So it's something I've been pushing for sure, kind of engaging the community again, since there's been a lot of movement on the sale of the Heights property and then the change in town.
Through the chair. I think Lou, you bring up a very good point. And this is where I think the RDIC has merit. This is where they have the gold standard that can help the town. And that if the town has found something, if they found something that they can develop economically, but they don't have the land for, but the land is becoming available, that is something they can help the board, previous, next boards, whatever, and the town understand why we need to buy a piece of property if it fits with the development of the town's economic growth. Up until then, there's been a disconnect. But I think that connection would be very important.
To Leah's point, if we can get the master plan passed from the planning board, part of the master plan actually has a committee or a group set up that hasn't happened in the past, and I'm sort of walking the fine line between planning board and RDIC right now, is that committee would actually look at the points that were brought up in the master plan and help execute those. And one of them would be assisting in the surveys and all the information that we got back as part of the master plan of what actually the town people at that time wanted. I know it's been a couple of years and we've been really wanting to get this plan passed, and I think we're getting close with the open space because that's our only holdup. The board's been sort of, to use Randy's term, we've been handcuffed because we can't move forward until we get that. So once we get that and we get a committee put together that will actually be, I don't want to use the word managing, but assisting in making sure that the master plan goals are being achieved or coming up with solutions for them. I think that would help out with the long-term plan of, like Harry and Lee had said, with finding opportunities to be used that the RDIC could assist with from that master plan.
And if I may add to that, my understanding reading MGL, the special act with the Rutland Heights property, is RDIC is solely the care handlers of that property. And so I'm talking about RDIC specifically looking at the Heights the remaining parcels at the Heights property. I think the master plan did a decent job with the entirety of town, but I know RDIC really holds the teeth for the Heights property and seeing what the community as a whole is interested in that. I support the whole don't push development up there until there's a little bit more forward movement on Harmony Place. I'm not pushing that aspect, but also getting a sense from what the community as a whole wants now, 26, 27 years since the original Rutland Heights master plan was done.
That, Lee, to answer your question on that, some of that would come out of, if we could ever get that master plan passed, of what call it the area inside of the town is looking for. We just need to get that passed and get that distributed and start executing the goals of that master plan, and that's really.
But I'm also calling out that for a long time, RDIC has been very, very adamant that RDIC holds control of the Rutland Heights property, and I'm talking very specifically about those additional parcels, not solely for RDIC, but that's a big chunk of RDIC. I fully support RDIC doing the other economic development and industrial development pieces throughout town, but per the special act, RDIC is the holder of that, and so that's why I'm pushing solely, and we excluded that parcel from the master plan because it's carved out from MGL, so.
But the goals in that master plan, even though it doesn't have RDIC, has a general, Dick, what am I going to, just general overview of what the town's looking for. And some of those goals being small business, strip mall, something like that would be perfectly suited for being put in those remaining parcels at RDIC. So that can be looked at and discussion points with the RDIC and the HPDD. They're the, if you want to call it, the engineering wing of the RDIC. So I have no problem taking that.
Can I let
I'm sorry.
Dick comment? He's been patiently reading.
Seth sent a listing of the town properties, maps, which I have gone through and wrote everything on there about whatever, and Two of them, I've gone, one of them I went to the Board of Health because it said Town of Rutland property, but it wasn't, it was the old dump, so I asked the Department of Health, Board of Health to, because DCR, I have a letter here from him and the head of DCR in Quabbin. And he says, as far as they're concerned, they want the land back. It was only leased. And there's another piece of land that was supposed to be, and remember I'd asked you about the water, backup water supply. And this piece of property was also leased to the town of Rutland. And I can remember way back, they said, you know, they found dirty water on it. Well, it was below the dump. So it should go back to DCR, so, and there's so many other little pieces of property in here that town of Rutland should get rid of. And I mean, just ask the next door neighbor, hey, got $1, get rid of it. But, I've been pushing, and why I want to get the login rolling is, heights down below Harmony Place. Mike had an opportunity, somebody came in and was interested in it for a while, but then backed out. I asked Mike about, how about a second road in there from Kenwood or something like that? And gonna look into it, maybe a little bit more, in order to make that property more viable, getting in and out, or having something that be done with it. There's so much going on. And to me, for crying out loud, took that down, and I just feel that we should have cleaned up the heights, what trees are around there, pushed and allowed the people like a park, to use the pond that's there, fishing pond a little bit more, to get into it, you might say. It's all a bunch of little things, but just to let you know, in the long run, Oak Meadow, I was hoping that would get really cranking up in the very near future, and that is on Palmagussit Road. It's privately owned, and it was for light industrial or all kinds of industrials that we want to go in there. We have, there is water that can be going to it. Electricity is one of the main lines that it feeds Rutland, a secondary line that comes from Westminster, and an excellent spot. Also, I've had problems lately with the bus company having cars parked on 68. I was gonna make a complaint about it, but I decided I better not, stop being judge and jury. So I'm gonna leave it alone, but in all honesty, maybe they should be in a different spot. And our town center, village center in North Rutland is behind Putnam, and I asked Mr. Putnam, would you mind school buses going in and out of here? And he said, no, it's part of what the heck we were planning on doing with the property in the back. So, and it might be something in the future that would have to happen, because I just don't like to see a parking lot where it's supposed to be a breakdown lane. I got a list of stuff here, and heck with it,
I know, I appreciate the list, I just wanna cycle back the conversation to focus on the charge and
Yeah.
make sure that everybody's in agreement. I know
Talk about
Mike
Mike.
has his hand raised. Mike, do you wanna chime in?
Can he chime in? Are you?
He's on mute.
Can you hear us, Mike?
You're on mute if you can hear us.
She said there was audio problems.
Oh, there-
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I got a couple of things that I'd like to say. Nowhere in this charge does it say that Rutland Heights is the sole the only responsibility of the RDIC. And I know no one's saying that, but every time we have a conversation about town-owned property, the first thing comes up is, what are we gonna do with the rest of the land at Rutland Heights? Why aren't we doing something about that? And I don't get it. I just don't understand it. I mean, we're now talking about perhaps doing another survey And that survey was gonna have, a whole bunch of new opinions. And let me just give you a hypothetical. The survey comes back and says, we should build athletic fields on, the piece of property to the right of the driveway. And overwhelmingly, that's what it says. Well, that's okay. It's okay for that to be said, but that still doesn't mean it should be done. And the reason I'm saying that is because we don't know, and the people who are going to take the survey aren't going to know anything about the rest of the property that the town owns. So the parcel, for instance, down on Route 68 may be a better parcel than the Rutland Heights, but that's not going to be part of the survey. It's not, no one's going to know that that is potentially there. So I just don't get the continual push and the ignoring of the other major parcels that the town owns, that the RDIC is willing to try to see what the opportunities are. And I brought this up at the last meeting that we were together at, and I got disagreement from your board, and I still disagree wholeheartedly. I believe, first of all, they're not making any more land. What we got is what we got. And the most prime piece of property the town owns is the piece on Maple Avenue. So that should be treated with kid gloves, in my opinion. But first and foremost, and I said it before, what are the needs of the town? I mean, the town continues to grow, and we're talking dispatch centers, bigger DPW, police stations. Where are these things going to go if we don't plan now? And never has the town, and I've been asking this since Margaret was in place, has the town ever said to all department heads, let's get together, let's sit down and like Dick said, we now have maps, the areas, the topography, where they are, sit down and say, okay, do you have use for this land? What might it be? And then we know what it is. And we have not done that. Now, I know, Jen, you said you thought we should be doing that. I disagree. I believe it's a higher level request that should come from your board. You should organize it. We should obviously be intimately involved and participate in it, but we have no authority or jurisdiction over any of the people we're going to ask to come and give opinions. So again, I feel that way there. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
So I think I don't disagree with you, Mike. The Heights property is just one piece. The overarching goal is for the commission to look at all available town properties and how they can be used for economic development opportunities. If not necessarily to say, map out every single piece of town-owned property and how can we utilize it to our benefit. That's not what we're talking about. But as Leah pointed out earlier, again, just thinking about it from a broad sense with the charge, it's the RDIC that would want to research by whatever means. I don't want to get into whatever surveys need to be conducted, if that's even the means. Again, I would leave that up to the RDIC to do the research on how to find the information. But figuring out what it is, and then as it's in here, coordinating with the select board, with planning board, and with town administration, if it involves any of the other town departments, looping them in and asking questions to understand what it is that the town needs. Promoting and facilitating industrial, commercial, retail, housing, recreational, municipal development aligned with town planning objectives. We've been talking about the master plan. That can still be used to get going, even if it's not approved. So whether or not all of that is still the same, again, taking that information and looking across the town-owned property to see what can be utilized and how to meet the needs there to promote that economic and industrial development to benefit the town, not, again, specifically focused on the Heights property. So I don't disagree with you there, Mike.
Well, the only thing I'll add to that is I want you to think about the last 2 years, what's happened to the businesses in town. You've lost a drugstore, has not been replaced, and there's no interest I guess that there is now interest in replacing it. Pizzeria, gone. restaurant in the center of town, gone. I mean, it's, the reality of it is that we live where we live. It's proximity to roadways and everything else is what it is, and that's never gonna change. So,
And again, this is where I would put it back on RDIC. Why are the restaurants leaving that location so frequently? Why is there such turnover, and what can we do? Again, I know we're limited, but what can we do? I mean, it's right in here, publicly and working, coordinating publicly and privately sponsored development initiatives.
you know, I think it's pretty obvious why the restaurants aren't here, though. I mean, you had a restaurant that spent lots of money in the town center and survived 3 months. Now, do you think they would have left if it was a good business opportunity? Of course they wouldn't have. You know, I mean, you have to it has to be patronized to the point where it becomes profitable, and obviously it's not. It wasn't.
All right, so I'm gonna bring us back to the charge that's before us. I'm gonna ask this board first. How does the board feel about the charge that's the draft charge that was put up? Are you comfortable with what's there? Are you looking to make any changes as far as what your expectations are?
Can I ask who put this together?
This was Seth.
Huh?
Seth, he did the research
job,
to incorporate
nice job.
everything from the
Okay.
MGL and the Acts
Very
of
good.
2000.
I think this is, for me, again, going back years, this is perfect. I think this makes a statement, and what's really important to me about this isn't the duties and responsibilities, it's the purpose and mission. How do you take each one of those and develop it into a mission statement? This is what you wanna do, this is what we gotta get done, how does it get done? And then the duties and responsibilities can come after that. But I think this is a great document from my perspective. I'd be interested to see what you guys feel, but to me, this says a lot to me.
Ka-ching. The whole thing is ka-ching in my book.
We'll take it up at our next meetings, what we're gonna have to do. But when I read that over, unfortunately, too many years as a project manager and money guy, there's money involved with doing a lot of that mission statement. And of course, we don't have a budget. We've just, I think Tamika can tell me I'm wrong, I think we've only got like $12,000 in our coffers, so I could be off on that, but
No,
so.
but there's a section right in here on authorization to expend appropriated funds. RDIC is authorized to expend funds appropriated by town meeting, held in special purpose accounts, or allocated for specific RDIC managed projects or development initiatives.
And
So if you have something that you would like funding for, sponsor an article and bring it up to town
Correct.
meeting.
And in my experience, I was just gonna say, to piggyback on that, Jen, if I may, to piggyback on that, since I've been in town, town meeting has been, for the most part, very giving to RDIC for free cash for projects. And I think the frustration is to see the follow through on some of those projects. So, you know, come to town meeting with a
Excuse me. Pardon me.
with a detailed plan, and then get the money and do that detailed plan. And I think town meeting has been very supportive of that for the most part.
Correct,
So
I'm just making a comment, I'm not saying what needs to be done, I'm just saying that I just wanna make it clear that some of those items will require articles,
Understood.
requests, stuff like that, so.
We have an avenue.
I agree with you.
Because we're gonna need support, I mean, 5 people cannot be project managers for the large portion of the town, we're gonna need assistance, such like the planning board has a town engineer, the same thing with the RDIC, there'll be need to be support.
And I think, you know, I've said all the time, sometimes you have to spend money to make money. And so we can't shoot ourselves in the foot by not spending money if there's value to spending that money and there's going to be an actionable plan. Sometimes I think, and not specifically RDIC, but sometimes we as a community have spent money for something and then haven't followed through with it. Or haven't followed through with it in a timely manner, so the expenses become exaggerated. So I think to that follow through is having the support. I think the board, sounds like the board is supporting this, have that support, but also with the follow through of RDIC and not in this case, because that's what we're
Okay,
talking
we'll
about.
bring it up at the meeting and discuss it about where we wanna go with that, and if there's any comments to that mission or charge, we will get it back to the board.
Okay.
May I again, please?
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, you know, I gotta tell you, I'm so sick and tired of the misinformation about what the RDIC has spent and how supportive the town has been of it.
Mike,
It's
Mike,
that's not.
I don't mean to
Well,
interrupt you, but I don't wanna rehash past conversations. I'd like to keep the conversation focused on the charge, please.
Okay, so from your side of this table, you can say whatever you choose in regards to budgets, but there can be no response. So again, it's misinformation that goes out and the public doesn't hear the truth. All I'm asking for is 1 minute.
Is there anything that's going to aid in the discussion of the charge, Mike? I understand the frustration, but I just want to, again, the goal here is to focus on the charge and getting this settled versus getting into the weeds of the workings of the RDIC.
Well, I understand that, Jen, and I agree, but one of your members continues to repeat fallacies and disseminates that to the public, and I think that then puts the RDIC in a very negative light, and I think that's unfair and unfortunate. So if we can't talk about that, I guess I have no choice because you're not allowing conversation. And I understand you have a job to do. I don't agree with it.
All right, so there's been a lot of discussion. Is the board looking to or agreeable to approving this charge, or would you like to give time for the RDIC to do a final review and bring back any feedback?
I think we should give them.
Personally, I'd like to give them time
Okay.
to do that and come back.
We haven't
because-
had a meeting yet, so I really
personally-
appreciate that.
Personally, I'd like to know or feel how they're going to work in going forward the purpose and mission of those items. How are they gonna coordinate all that stuff so that when they come back to the board, they can say, we actually have an actionable item here that we would like to do, and here's the money we need. That's what I would like to see them, to look at that.
Jen, can I,
And Madam Chair, is your board gonna allow the RDIC to consider town-owned land in that evaluation? All town-owned land?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I think that's what we've been talking about, is that it should not.
Okay, I just wanna be clear, because we spent a lot of time getting to where we are today that basically has got thrown out the window.
The Heights property is just one piece.
All town.
Oh, no, but we've been, for the last year and a half, we've been working beyond the Heights property on other town-owned parcels.
Yep, and that should be part of the equation.
That should continue.
Yeah. To be continued.
Jen, I was just gonna ask, does the board feel that another joint meeting is necessary, or do you wanna just move forward based on the feedback that they provide? Just for planning purposes?
Unless the board disagrees, I think we should have a meeting, come up with a consensus and send that to the select board. If we have any red lines, we can send you the red lines and let you discuss it, and if you so desire to wanna have a joint meeting, then we could be amicable to that, but
Sure.
I think we should review the existing document, and if we've got red lines, get it back to you. Otherwise, a consensus that mission and charge statement is acceptable.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, so we'll wait to hear from you. We'll reach out.
We've got a meeting coming up, so.
Okay.
Then there was a second item on our agenda. And again, I don't wanna get into the weeds on the forest management, but
That's not on our agenda, though. So if you have an RDIC specific topic for forest management,
yes, cause that was, I thought,
all we have on our agenda is to review the charge.
oh, okay. Guess we'll, at our next meeting, have a discussion.
Yeah, I think we send them a letter.
I thought, didn't,
You received a letter.
we got a letter from the Concon, if I'm not mistaken, on the request for that.
We sent a letter to them, that they should have had an answer tonight, that they don't do a good job.
There was communication received, but since we haven't discussed that topic and there's still further research and we were not soliciting
Okay.
feedback as far as, we don't even know what we're looking to do yet. So that has not been distributed because we're still trying to organize that conversation to happen.
do you want the RDIC to give you comments back on the letter from the Concon that was sent out of what they plan or what they want to do?
Did Concom actually send a,
They
Yeah,
did.
they did.
They sent it to the select board and CC the RDIC, simply expressing their
Oh,
interest.
yes,
And then you guys are meeting.
what I would like to, again, we're getting off topic, we don't have a discussion, the whole topic hasn't been brought before this board.
Okay.
So again, I'm working with Heather to organize that, and it will be on a future select board to have that discussion. So at this point, if we're looking for any direction or feedback or whatnot from other boards and committees, after that discussion happens, we'll reach out.
Okay.
So if I may, are we establishing an agenda for our next joint meeting? Is that what we're doing here?
So,
No, I thought we wanted to enjoy it.
No, at least for, as far as this topic, the RDIC is just gonna go back and review the charge and provide their feedback to the select board.
And then in our internal meeting, which will be at the RDIC meeting, we'll discuss more about the forest management and the letter that we got from the Concon, and give you feedback on what our position is, because I don't think,
Again, we haven't even talked about it, so if we're looking for I don't want you to provide feedback on something that we haven't even introduced or discussed as a select board. So I would prefer that any conversations or
Okay.
discussion wait until the board has information before them and they
Okay.
know what we're talking about.
all right, good enough.
Okay.
But will there be another joint discussion? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Not just yet, we're gonna,
No, I mean in the future.
we can at the request of RDIC, but as of what I'm hearing right now is we're just gonna go with the feedback from RDIC. And if you.
For the charge, yeah, but
Correct.
for the forest management is what Mike's getting at. Do we wanna have a future meeting to have that discussion once you've done your part?
Again, I think we need to have a board discussion
Okay,
first with no other joint
yeah, okay,
involvement.
good, fine.
All right, anything else on the RDIC charge? Okay. Are you going to keep your meeting open, or did you wanna close?
I was gonna say, if we've got nothing else, I'll
Motion to
go ahead. Motion to close.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote?
I,
Aye. Mike,
All right,
thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, moving in, try and get through these few items. Interboard communication. There's an action plan in your packets. I had drafted this up based on some feedback that we've gotten at a couple of meetings now, that the select board lacks communication with our other town boards and committees, as far as being in the loop on what's going on, what they're doing. Prime example, RDIC, just feeling the board is not aware of what they've been working on. So I drafted up this action plan and I wanted to bring it before the board as essentially a way of improving some of that communication with our other boards and committees. So it's essentially a way to, at least once a month, have one of our town boards or committees come in, have taken some time to prepare a document that just kind of lists their current projects, what they're working on, any challenges or resource needs, any select board action or support that they're requesting. And again, just a way to give a little bit of back and forth and have some collaboration and with our other boards and committees and just that we appoint. So I just wanted to bring this before the board and see what your thoughts are. Any suggestions? Or if
I guess
we're
I'll
not
start.
interested in doing it at all, which is fine. Go ahead, Harry.
Jen, I think you did a great job on it. I like the outline. I think that we have been missing this for a long time in terms of, I feel like if a committee is out there or a board is out there, and we don't, yes, we have the opportunity to sit in there, but we are not a voting member of that board or anything. So by having them come in here with us as a joint, I think it becomes a much more efficient and much more structured approach to the board's ability to see what's going on in town. So I kinda like this approach, I do.
That's a good idea. Yep.
And it's not intended to be any sort of micromanagement, it's just to foster that collaboration and share what's going on, and is there any way that this board can assist with any of their challenges or concerns?
I think it's I mean, I think the outline is great, I think it's a great idea, I think I struggle a little bit with the time of what would go into it, from both sides of it, frankly. The request to somebody from another committee, to spend, you know, X amount of time creating a presentation, a brief written update, what they're creating, what they're preparing, and then coming and presenting that. I mean, that's based on the time, the duration of the presentation and how long it might take them to create the presentation, update, all those aspects, prepare for that. We're talking 2.5, 3 hours worth of work for potentially one person to do that. And now I'm not saying that that's, a bad thing or unnecessary. I'm a little bit concerned with the ask there.
I don't see it as needing any sort of formal presentation. I saw it as more of a however, even a single committee meeting, they could have an agenda topic that says, all right, what are our bullet points? What are our updates? Do we have any concerns? What are our challenges?
Kinda like a
And sharing
written memo.
those. Bullet point, I'm not expecting them to have some sort of Google presentation or
I don't want
anything along
slides.
those
I
lines.
don't want
No, this is, because I agree with you,
Okay, and if that's the case, then I would also change the duration of it to the low side of those numbers, because I think when I see those numbers, I'm expecting quite a long thing, honestly. I mean, that's a 30-minute presentation on the high side, right? That's a pretty long discussion, presentation, whereas.
that's just total, which is why I have kind of broken down, so there's the
Yep.
updates, the concerns. We can even reduce it to, 5 to 10 minutes of sharing updates, including,
Yeah, I would just put in.
projects, concerns, challenges, and then 10 minutes for select board questions.
Yeah, I would just do 5, 5, and 5, and if we go over by a little bit, that's fine, but I would just, that sets the expectation that it's supposed to be a very summarized discussion on, and then put in something like, if more time is needed, we're happy to schedule more time. But to create this expectation that this is not supposed to be anything big, and I think, otherwise, I think it's a great idea. I worry a little bit with, I'm not gonna pick on any committees or anything, because I don't actually have an example that I can even think of, but like a smaller committee or something that doesn't meet very often, that doesn't have a lot of large things going on at the moment. I'm wondering if we can try to create the schedule to prioritize timings of when committees might have things going on that are, okay.
We've already looked into that, yeah, to try and coordinate with, already.
Like 4th of July.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Things along those lines.
More so to avoid coming in and being like, what do you have going on?
We haven't gotten
Nothing.
anything,
Like,
yes, we've
and just what are
taken
we
that
doing
into
here,
consideration as we've
Yeah.
been looking
Okay,
at
cool.
this.
Yeah, then I think then that makes a lot of sense.
So I'm totally, oh, go ahead, Eric.
I guess you're right. If we take anything from our budget meetings, we know when we ask them to give a presentation, we're lucky to get 3 minutes out of them. Okay?
Some people you ask and they're gonna spend a week creating a presentation and a PowerPoint and they're gonna go the nth mile and we're gonna be like, oh, that's not what we needed. We just wanted something quick, and then, I'll feel bad because this person spent all this time creating something. It's so unnecessary for the task at hand, and I don't wanna put that sort of pressure or expectation on anyone, especially any one individual, who's doing this. But no, I think it's great. I think keeping it to as minimal as possible to create the most value out of it is definitely, should be a goal.
I agree.
When were you thinking of starting something like this?
Really, actually, I think we had said we were gonna maybe loop in the first one. It's a little bit off, but maybe next one with Concom, cause they're, I think, gonna be on the schedule. So it might be
some that doesn't have really an involvement in the budget process?
It's a good
Within
point.
the next few,
I almost said
within the
FinCom
next
was the
few
first.
meetings is when we'd like to really try and get it
Yeah,
rolling.
like Concom, like you were saying, okay.
Go ahead. Are you, I don't wanna like,
No,
are you done?
I'm
Okay.
I'm done.
A couple things. In the past, when we've talked about this, there's been pushback because the expectation that an appointed board or committee that's a volunteer is expected to give another night up to come to our board meetings versus why don't we ever go to their meetings? It's been contentious in the past. And also similar with the electeds, that as elected boards to request another elected board's presence gets a little dicey sometimes. So just those are in past iterations in trying to improve communication, that's been some of the hindrances or challenges with that. So just as a thought.
My 2 cents. I think that how the invitation is presented goes a long way to set a tone. That the select board is interested in hearing what's going on your board and committee's agendas. If you have something that you wanna prepare, that'd be wonderful. If not, please just, feel free to send a member or two to the select board meeting for, if we leave it in their court as to what the expectation is for how formal or non-formal that update is, I think that can be conveyed in a way that makes it less formal and less that you're summoning them to a meeting. So I think a long way, how the question is asked or the invitation is sent goes a long way. Also, I think just a clarification, maybe in the actual language of the action plan would be to identify whether the full board or committee is expected or if a chair or a designee is appropriate.
Because I had Leo's concern as well, trying to get a full board to attend another meeting, that I certainly wouldn't want to exclude a full board if they were willing to, but I was thinking that it would just be at least one, whoever, if it's the chair or a designee, that it doesn't have to be, whoever they decide would like to and is available to come in and talk to the board. And I think also, Alex, taking your feedback in as far as in here, I did add a brief written update. We can certainly reduce that just to, main bullet points again, just for the sake of, everybody's time. But I would like to keep that included because that just helps keep the discussion going and allows us to have the quicker 5-ish minute conversations for each of those areas if we have the information ahead of time to look at.
If I may. Heather, I think you and I spoke when we met last week or whatever about potentially using AI to try to summarize meeting minutes from boards and committees. So I wonder if there's an avenue to do that might take some pressure off of the boards and committees to have to prepare something formal. If we get a summary of their most recent minutes or their quarterlies or something, that then we can already have an idea as to what's going on or not, and then they can come with hot button topics or highlights or whatever, but it might take some of that pressure off of them to feel like they have to collate something if we can kind of leverage some of the AI piece and the existing minutes. I'm not sure. I know we kind of you brought it up and
What Leah is referencing is a thought that as boards and committees are posting and uploading their minutes to the website, it's an awful lot of work for you all and for each other to keep track of what each other is up to. And I think that there's a function that I can provide, which is to minutes that have been approved and uploaded to the website in the last 30 days, use AI to create a summary of that and get that out to at least the 5 of you and if there are others who are interested. And that way there's a sort of central conversation that at least if you have an interest in opening the document, you could get a very high level sense of what everybody's up to. And I think that could be fine tuned to keep up with the schedule of your action plan. So I don't wanna commit to anything too grand. They always say, don't do anything in your first month that you're not gonna be willing to do for the rest of your tenure, but that's just a thought I've been playing with to help improve these communications.
And if I wonder, and this is going off a little bit, I wonder if even if, once a system is established, a function, if even that can be put back onto, it would be another potential role for the board and committee, but if there was a way to do that, just upload and have it spit out and then transferred that way instead of having to do something.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but it's just a thought. So I appreciate you bringing it up because I think that there is value to that for all of us. And if we're starting these meetings, then that's a starting point also.
In other communities, I've facilitated a all boards meeting that meets quarterly, which the chair or a designee of each board or committee comes to a meeting. Typically, we would do them alternate an early morning meeting and then the next quarter an evening meeting, and select 3 or 4 topics and limit the conversation to those topics. Everybody knows what they are ahead of time, but trying to find those 3 topics that cross as many borders of the boards. And a great example is accessory dwelling units. When that was a hot button issue and everybody was beginning to talk about that, having the input or an opportunity for the various boards and committees through their chair or their designee hear what was happening on the other, parallel boards. So something to think about as we move through this. There are other ways. There are additional ways to further enhance interboard communication, and I'm happy to continue to explore that with the board. But I think this is a really good beginning. I certainly think that if we limit it to a easier lift for the chair or whoever is going to attend, the better. I think that will support better participation.
I think the idea of utilizing AI to kind of create summaries from minutes is a really good idea, and I think that if you take that like one step further and try to create like a not town-wide newsletter, but like a newsletter that went out to all committees and select board and everyone around 5 things that have been going on in each committee's meetings over the you do it monthly, quarterly, whatever makes sense.
Highlights.
Yeah, literally like top 5 highlights of what was most discussed. And you do that, I think monthly would make sense, but it'd probably be overkill, and I'm thinking I wonder how quarterly would look. And it might, this could just be, we'll just try something and see how it goes. And to me, if we can create something along those lines that makes sense and works well for that intention, then you can take that and move it out to publicize it too, and to send it out to town in whatever fashion possible, right? To, again, key highlights of here's what each of the committees are working on.
We do have an internal newsletter that is put together, and that's been very well received. Perhaps there's a second page that could go with the newsletter to.
Yeah, but that newsletter takes work, right? There's a lot of work that goes into that to collate all that information and put together. This is more of just a throw it in, spit it out, see what happens, and test it along. I mean, we'll test it with us for once a month for a while, see what it looks like, and if it's terrible, we're like, okay, well, let's just let's change course.
That's just it. We can try and see how it goes, and it might go down in flames, or it might be more positively received. I think what I can do is if the board's agreeable and likes the idea, we can make some of those adjustments to the action plan, just alleviating some of the time and the work that's here, as well as put together a memo for introducing the idea to the boards and committees, just stating that it's supposed to be informal. You know, we're certainly on board with using, investigating AI tools that would help with creating some of the summaries of work, that they would bring to the board. I think the important part for me and why I wanted to introduce this was it's more that face-to-face with some sort of a representative of those boards, just so that, and I realize we are asking a lot by having them come to a select board meeting. But again, if we limit it to having at least one representative, we're not requesting the entire board. Just to show that we would like to have that collaboration, and we just want to know what can we do to help. We just want to be aware of what you've got going on, and is there anything that we can do?
I mean, basically, if you think about it, really, we're asking once per year.
For a board or
What it's gonna
committee.
end up being to come
Exactly.
do an update, so I don't think it's a tall ask, I think it's reasonable.
Plus, if you know that 3 months from now, you're gonna be meeting the select board, if you can't get in a 5 or 10 minute thing done in a 3-month period, maybe we need to reconsider that committee, that's all.
Which is why I wanted to have a schedule kind of, or a calendar, ahead of time, just so that they would be able to prepare for that.
Cool.
Okay, so we can make some adjustments and we can bring some more details back for the board to review.
I think it'll be surprisingly well received. I think that boards and committees so often feel that they're working in isolation, and that knowing that they have the support of, or an opportunity to solicit support, can only be beneficial.
And can I just also ask, when whichever board or committee we're meeting with, can we get their charge sent out to us
good idea.
when they're prepared, just so we're going in knowing what their charge is? Maybe they're doing a lot more than their charge, maybe they're not doing their charge because it's taken a different avenue, but just that gives us kind of that, to Alex's point, yearly check-in with the charge and the function of the board and committee, to your point, if they are functioning as they need to, or
Right.
need to be adjusted or whatever.
Yeah, I like
Good
that
idea.
Okay, alright, so we'll follow up on that. Next on our agenda is an invoice that, as everybody knows, the town took on plowing and road treatment for a couple of storms for Woodside Avenue, Pioneer Circle, and Arrowhead Way, prior to those being accepted at town meeting. So what we have before us is an invoice. Let me also go back and add as we've noted in a couple of meetings in the past, prior to acceptance as a public way, it's the applicant developer responsible for the plowing and treatment of those roads. So since the town took on those responsibilities for several of the storms, the invoice we have in front of us is just for the work that was done in that interim period. So what we're looking for is a vote by the board to authorize the town administrator to issue this invoice to the developer for the work that was completed.
Question?
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, if I understand correctly, this was a conversation that the interim town administrator had with the developer, so knew that this was coming, and it's not the developer's not being blindsided by it.
Correct. And I think that the purpose is to make sure that the select board is not inadvertently setting precedent.
Correct.
So that by issuing the invoice, we're making, the town is making it clear that although the town stepped up to assist in this particular case, it should not be considered precedent.
I only have one question. In your discussion, is it the builder, Cleve Blair, who's responsible, or the HOA who's responsible?
In this particular case, it would be the builder.
Okay.
I don't think
The HOA had not been established.
I was just gonna say the HOA hasn't even been,
Residents don't have
they don't
ownership
have
of it
control
yet.
over it, correct? It's still under the authority of the developer.
I'll make a motion that we send this itemized list bill to Cleveland Developer for payment in regards to plowing and salting treatment services for Arrowhead, Pioneer Circle, and Woodside Ave during the period 2/4/2025 to 1/5/2026, as stated.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Just a quick discussion,
Sure.
the time period looks like it's about a year, going back to February of last year. So there was a couple storms in last winter that we plowed that we shouldn't have, according to this, is it?
This is the information that I received from the DPW director.
Should that be a 12?
Oh, yes, that should be a 12.
Oh.
I'm sorry, that was, the first snowstorm we got was December 4th.
Oh.
That was a misprint.
Okay,
So,
Thank
so,
you, thank you.
Thank
I'll
you.
amend, I'll amend my,
yeah, all I can go with is, I wasn't even here yet.
Amending the date
Neither
to
was I.
12.
Yeah, no.
that's why I was like,
didn't
do I
pick
have to
up
abstain from this? Cause I wasn't really in.
Thank you for that, Cat Jobs.
Alright, so
As amended.
as amended.
amended.
Alright, so we have a motion and there is a second.
Paul was the second for the.
Hold on a second, yeah.
Alright, any further
Yeah,
discussion?
just, I'm sorry, a little bit more discussion. I think the plowing piece of this is pretty straightforward to me. The salt, I just, the trucks that we have, are we able to calculate the amount of salt coming out of those I mean, since we don't bill for these sorts of things, I don't, like, do we know that this isn't a correct amount? It just,
I can kind of,
yeah, go for it.
if you work at the DPW, you know, if you're having a forklift or a front end lifter, you know how much salt holds each bucket. When you dump that into your thing, you know how much salt is held in each salter or that thing. They pretty much got that down to a science.
Yeah, but like,
I don't know if there's any weight measurement as they're dispensing it, but I do know that they were tracking this with the specific intention of knowing how
Okay.
much they were distributing for
Okay,
these
that works then.
specific areas because of
I appreciate that.
I think
then.
some, if I may, my understanding was the agreement when the the road owner had said that he wasn't going to take care of it. The agreement was the town wasn't going to leave the residents
Yeah.
out to be stuck, but it wasn't going to be at the expense of the town. And so it was clearly
Yeah.
communicated that the developer would be billed for it and
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that, I wanna make sure that the calculation on this, because to me, like,
Right, but-
I don't know how you can,
But to follow up with that, they went in knowing that that's what that they were documenting it, and they know
Right,
how many
exactly.
miles they used, and I'm sure
Okay.
that there's.
The only question I have is, if I look at the way the roads are treated on the main roads in me, I look and I go, in a matter of roughly 1 month, they treated those roads 26 times.
There was a lot of snow and ice.
There was,
It was the
yeah.
ice.
Especially
on
that big ice
section of
storm.
street.
and I
Okay.
thought we used the spray, not the salt.
That's just pre-treatment. There's treatments after.
So
Again,
billing for
I'm
pre-treatment?
not arguing, I'm
That's
sure
all
the
part of
facts are
this.
there, they have the
It's
documents, but.
saltment and treatment services, so it's combined.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's part of it is the,
And Alex, if I
Yeah.
may, they can only brine when it's a certain temperature, so because it's been so cold, they actually haven't been able to use the brine before most of the storms.
gotcha,
Okay.
fair enough. Thank
As
you.
amended on all issues?
There's only one issue.
Alright, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Alright, roll call. Alex?
Mo and I.
Second, I.
Matt's and I.
Ledger I. Alright, we have the Moses Howe Award, so it's that time of year when we're looking to open the nomination period. As in years past, we would close the nominations later in February, announce the winner at our first meeting in March. So I will entertain a motion to open the nomination period for the 2025 Moses Howe Award with nominations to close on February 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Can I just ask that, for communication, that we put a note out as to what the Moses Howe Award is?
Yes.
Please.
Yep.
Thank you. It's for public service and like public engagement, resident or an employee from the town, and kind of, it doesn't have to be public service in the sense of public safety service,
Right.
but public service to the community
To the
as a whole. And it can be an employee or a resident.
Alright, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Alright, roll call. Alex?
Second, I.
I'm gonna,
Right, and I.
And Ledger, thank you. So we'll be bringing that back too. And then last on the agenda is the Community Expo. As Heather mentioned last time, we'd like to participate at the Community Expo, and again, in your packets, I put together some ideas as far as ways that we can participate at the expo, including an educational handout, a getting involved poster just with information on how to run for office, any open board and committee positions, how do the appointments work, why serving matters, some community priority voting, so letting residents put tokens or votes into some sort of a jar container to indicate their top priorities for town, and even a little budget mini activity where we create a budget and they place how they want to spend their budget money, so they can kind of get a feel for what goes into our creation of the budget and having to work through cuts or decide which departments get money and how much and all of that. So just some ideas, but just wanted to, I guess, get some a feel from the board if you would like to be involved. I will probably be there at the very least, probably with Heather. So if anybody else has interest or would like to be involved with any of these activities, or if you have other thoughts or ideas, not to say that we're gonna do all of these, but just some things to think
I
about.
must admit, unfortunately, I will not be there.
Okay.
Disappointment.
I'm gonna be in Florida.
Oh,
hopefully it's warmer than
hopefully
it
it's
has
warmer
been.
there than up here.
I hope it is warmer when I'm down there.
I'm just gonna go on record and say that I have zero creativity. I am not an arts and crafts person, so all poster making is deferred.
You know, I can, I'll try to help on this budget mini activity. In my financial background, believe it or not, I used to work with 4th and 5th graders on developing companies.
Oh, that's cool.
And so you get an idea of how, like if you have you take a picture of a school on a board and you say that's $20. Well, this is 30. Well, if the school needs more money, where are you gonna take it from? Type of thing is moving stuff around. So we used to do that with the kids. And so I might be able to help a little on that.
Be good.
Is the board comfortable if we officially submit the participation form to the events committee?
Jen said she's gonna be here, so.
I'm comfortable, and again, if anybody's willing and able to and your schedule permits, we'll be there, but I will commit to being there, and
I'm happy to.
Great.
and then if anybody again is interested or has ideas on anything that they'd like to help out with as far as materials, just reach out and we can coordinate.
Geez, with this, we could take up the whole room.
All right, for future agenda requests, we will look to put the remote meeting policy discussion on a future meeting. And is there anything else from the board that you'd like to?
I think we should start seriously discussing plans to get information out for override information and some sort of forum type schedule over the next few months, couple months. We don't even have a few months.
So a public information schedule and some public information meeting materials.
In the past, just if I may, Jen, in the past, there's been a couple held over at the building on Glenwood during the daytime hours. And there's been some Sunday afternoons here to try to catch the different populations. And so that's been the past couple iterations when the override was successful a few years ago, as well as last year when we decided to not go for an override. But I think to Alex's point, getting them out and publicized and everything is.
And I think we had talked about, again, just given our history of low attendance for info sessions, as far as the distribution of materials, finding some ways that we can disseminate information outside of an info session to get that to residents as well, so we can.
If I may, I think we could put something at the community expo and have information sessions after the community, like leading up to, but then also after. So if people are more interested for more detailed conversation or information, link to the website, and then also
With some very high quality snacks.
I can't afford snacks.
And we can also reach out to Wachusett Free Press. I'm sure they would love to do an article on it since that goes to every house and business in town. And we can also build out a page on the website. I'm trying to find the HTML code that we used for the tax calculator.
Okay.
So we can build out a page that can just be a landing spot that everybody, we can use. I forget what town it was that you said had some really great info.
Was it?
That was Melrose.
Melrose?
Yes.
Well, we do have to be careful with the town meeting. We can put information out there. After the town meeting, any sort of promotional like that would have to be deferred
Informational
to a
only.
Yes, yeah,
to a
information
nonprofit.
only. Like a political action
Yeah.
committee, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I just, I don't wanna put too many resources into a website if we have to,
And what website, I was just thinking the budget,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what it is,
Yeah.
where the funds are, and then the tax calculator and.
working on some really stellar pie charts.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking, I mean, obviously, the importance of it, but just providing information.
But I agree, it's time to start getting the information out there outside of just the public meetings, so.
Yeah, and I think, the info sessions I attended in the past, like 2 or 3 years ago, whenever this was, at this point, was relatively well attended. I mean, I don't recall exactly, but if we didn't have 40, 50 people there, I'd be surprised if it wasn't that much. Not the one you went to?
It tends to be the same folks.
Yeah.
Fair.
And I think we did have good buy-in from the school, for when, the override passed a few years ago, and so I think, coming out of the budget conversations with the school, utilizing, our school committee members, but also the schools as a whole.
Yeah.
Beneficial.
Okay, so we'll.
Question before we,
Sure.
this packet that's in here, was there a decision made on our land court case?
We can't talk about that.
No, I'm just saying, was it because it was in here in my general
No,
packet?
Harry, I had given that to everybody, but you were on Zoom, so that's just the
That's just your
original
paper
document
copy.
for you to have.
Okay,
Yeah,
alright.
there's no new
Yeah.
information there.
All right, good,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Okay.
Any other future agenda topics for now? Feel free to email me if you think of anything. Upcoming meetings, we have this Thursday, we have another budget hearing meeting, and then next Thursday, we have a budget hearing meeting, and then February 17th, which is the Tuesday following the Veterans Day holiday, is our next scheduled regular.
President's Day holiday.
President's Day, thank you, is our next scheduled regular board meeting. So just remember Tuesday, not Monday. Is there
And it's school
anything-
vacation week, just.
Yes, it is school vacation week, so. Anything else to come before the board this evening? Right,
Motion to adjourn.
need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, roll call.
Second.
We're gonna.
That's a nice.
Your eye. We are adjourned. 8:20. Thank you.